What is up, everybody? This is Marshall Lee of DonkeyJawProjects.com, and this is the Early Bird Artcast, a video series where I just pop things on early in the morning. I pop the old Hangouts on and chat with some friends usually, and we talk about usually an art topic, something related to comics, because I make comics, and a lot of the people who I talk with also make comics, like Teresa here. How you doing, Teresa?
Hello, I'm doing okay. How are you?
Awesome. And where can people find you, Teresa?
Well, here on YouTube, or you can also find me on Instagram by Teresa underscore del underscore Pilar. That's me.
Awesome. And if you want to see some cool comics being made, I definitely suggest checking her stuff out. Her link is in the description. Um, but today we're just so you know, right off the bat, we're going to be talking about Stranger Things season 3 spoilers. Excited to talk about that. So definitely going to be spoilers. So do not watch any further if you don't want to be spoiled. But if you do want to be spoiled or you've seen it, we're going to be chatting about that as we both work on our projects or whatever. I'm working on Lone Wolf right now. The Legends of the Lone Wolf by Doug Garrett, and Teresa, I think, is working on some of her own characters.
Yep.
And so let us get into that. I'm gonna change my screen over, and I'll be kind of navigate. You'll probably see I'll be navigating back and forth to IMDb because, as I was talking to Teresa before, I am not good at remembering names and characters and things like that, so I will be using a cheat sheet a bit. Even though we just finished watching it. My wife and I just finished watching it last night. So I
Yeah,
guess overall, Things season 3. What'd you think, Teresa?
I loved it. It was brilliant. I really, really liked it.
Hmm.
How about you?
Um, Overall, I liked it. I think it was more of what we have come to love about Stranger Things. It reflects the series pretty darn well, and there's a lot of great strong points. Very few points that I didn't love. I don't know how much I loved like the ending. Like I kind of left the ending feeling
Yeah,
like a little bit like I don't know, like it was a little bit. I wasn't
yeah,
excited at the end, like to see. I mean, I am interested to see what comes next, but at the same time, it didn't leave me feeling excited really about it. I don't know.
yeah. I feel the same way about the ending. It was like one of those to be continued, really cheesy things, but I don't know. I can't imagine where they're going with season three. I can't imagine what else they can do with this. But I feel like there were a lot of things that they built up on season two that they didn't use at all in season three, and that's what bothered me slightly.
Hmm.
Because all they was thinking, where's eight? The girl in, I think she was in Chicago or something. It's like, why
Hmm.
don't they call eight to help or something? I don't know. It feels like the whole arc of 11 going to Chicago in the previous season was a waste.
Yeah. I
So they
think from what I can gather, I think that they just decided to kind of nix that part, like, or just not include it because it was pretty. For the most part, people kind of hated that episode. I think it was episode 6 of the second season. Uh, I did. There was just so much people hating on that episode that I think they were just like, you know what, let's just not go there anymore. But I was
Yeah, I
wondering if they
mean,
would bring it in or not.
because it would have made so much sense. You have another girl with superpowers, bring her in,
Mm.
you're in a dire situation and you can, teleport, well, not teleport, but you can communicate with her and say, hey, come over, give me a hand. I don't know.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they do bring that stuff back for the fourth season, which I don't know what the plans are. I'm assuming there's going to be a fourth and final season. I think they were slated for 2 more, and this one is one of them. and the kids are getting older.
Yeah,
uh,
they definitely are.
I noticed a big difference between episode 4 and 6. I don't know if they filmed some of these episodes, like if there was a lot of time, but specifically Will, like he didn't fit his hair anymore. Like he was just like tall. He's
Yeah.
like taller than almost everybody now. Like,
Yeah, Stu and I, we were talking about that yesterday. We finished it yesterday as well, last night, and we were talking about how the character of Will doesn't do much. And I imagine now, and I don't know if this is true, that maybe it's because the actor that plays Will is younger than all the others, I believe. I think the actress that plays Eleven and the actor that plays Will are about the same age, and the rest are a little bit older.
hmm,
And I reckon they must have thought like, oh yeah, well, he's still going to look like a child, so we're not going to give him much to do. But then that doesn't even fit because Erica is much younger than he is, and she does a lot. So it's like,
yeah.
why is Will doing nothing? That part, it was just weird. You see, like this grown boy, like as tall as all the others, and he doesn't even take part in the conversations.
Yeah,
I
it's
was like,
weird.
well,
He's always like, except for actually this season, he's always like at the center of the story, but at the same time, he doesn't do anything hardly.
yeah, he's just like the victim of the story. He just gets kidnapped or possessed or something.
Yep. And they I guess they spared him from that this time around, but yeah,
And
it's
he
pretty weird. I always thought that what's the other kid's name that's like kind of I almost get them mixed up sometimes.
which one?
Why can't that's the again, I'm even the main characters, like I have a hard time remembering.
Like Mike.
Yeah, Mike. He seems like way more of a part of the story usually, like than Will does. And I don't
Yeah.
know, it's just interesting. I mean, the story is really about the whole group. I don't know if there's a protagonist really. Um, I guess they're just all protagonists. But
Mm,
yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. So um, I guess right off the bat, first season, first episode, and I think this because it's more in the first episode, I think, than the other episodes. But the first episode, the first thing, and my wife, I think, kind of disagreed with me on this one, but I can't help but like every time, and this happened the second season too, like, and I think it was more in the early parts because eventually the story kicks in and you don't think about it, but right off the bat they hit you with so much 80s nostalgia stuff, and it's like it's almost heavy-handed, it's over the top. And for me, being born in 1979, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. It's just like it's almost like they're playing it a little too hard, and it's like it didn't really feel like that to some degree. And also like I don't know, everybody's just decked out in very 80s like clothing, whereas in the 80s some people were decked out like that, some people just kind of had, I don't know, normal clothing that may even be worn now. I don't know, some of the toys, like, I don't think existed. Like there's that scene where Dustin's toys are coming out and riding around and on the rug or whatever, and like there was a
yeah.
transformer. I don't think they had a motorized transformer, but I guess it wasn't motorized now that I think about it, because that was 11 doing it, but it seemed like it was. And I don't know, there's just little things that look like it felt like it was over the top, but at the same time, for somebody who didn't grow up in the 80s, I would assume that's just high entertainment value, and they actually really like that. And I do too. It starts to take me a little bit out of the story. Luckily, the characters are awesome enough that I kind of forget that eventually.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was born in 84, so I didn't experience the 80s much.
Hmm.
So for me, it's like, yeah, that kind of looks like what I remember, sort of. Because by the time I was 6, it was already the 90s.
Yeah.
I actually get them mixed up in my head, the 90s and the 80s. So I was thinking like Eleven's clothes looked very 90s for some reason. I was thinking like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air type of stuff. And that in my head is 90s. So I was like, oh. Okay, I thought 80s was all about shoulder pads, and I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely some mix in the early '90s, late '80s. There, I mean, I guess you can't help it, but yeah, there was definitely points where I was like, is that really '80s or is that '90s? That seemed to,
Yeah,
I
right.
felt the same thing.
Yeah, I was a bit confused, but I suppose they've done the research, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
sure they have. And to be honest, like if I was the one writing these stories and stuff, I probably would have been that heavy-handed as well. I think it's actually a good decision. It's just a weird thing that I noticed. I think I remember in the second season, I was kind of thinking that like because they had there was like I remember there was a what do you call it? It just came out, or it's just about to come out. The Jim Henson Dark Crystal. There was like a
Oh
Dark
yeah,
Crystal poster on the wall, and I was like,
yeah,
did they even have Crystal hit posters? I kind of don't think so. I don't remember ever seeing. So it was like just little things like that. I was like they're trying too hard, but I don't know. It in the end, it actually is still fun. Like the nostalgia, I still do enjoy. It's just some of the things I like. I wonder like if my parents thought that about some of the overtop '70s, type of stuff in movies or whatever.
yeah.
So I
You
don't
know
know.
what I think it is as well? It's the fact that, well, I'm not sure if this is true, but I get the feeling that they're trying to pay homage to like different 80s genres or genres that were typical in the 80s, or that like it feels like this last season was like one of those high school horrors from the 80s, because there was a lot of neon lights and there was a lot of, I don't know, I think it's more of a reference to the cinema of that time rather than that time in itself.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
absolutely. I
so.
mean, it's kind of that whole thing too with even just the nature of nostalgia. We tend to remember things sometimes not all that accurately, but we like over exaggerate things in our minds and our memories and stuff. So it kind of works in that way as well.
Yeah, yeah. For me, it was fine. It didn't bother me. And in fact, I thought it was a good choice visually, because it was all very cohesive visually, like the mall and the ridiculous outfits. Well, not ridiculous. When I say ridiculous, I don't mean the 80s clothes. I mean Steve and Robin in their work outfits. That was super funny. I thought it was
Yeah, yeah,
ridiculous.
that was crazy. I almost wanted them to take it off. Like I was like, this is I don't know, it was so cheesy. But it was cool. I
I
dug
loved it. Choice. And the whole show, they never take the clothes off.
it. Yep.
I
Um yeah, there's so much cool stuff. That's one thing I do think is kind of cool is like I said, there was definitely some certain things that were complaints from a lot of people to that a lot in the second season, and there just isn't that much to complain about in this one that I can see at least. I'm sure there would be videos, why Strangers 3 season sucked or whatever, and like all that kind of stuff. But
I
whatever, I
can't
enjoyed it.
imagine I can't imagine anyone that likes season one and two would dislike season three. I think they've done
Yeah,
a really good job at continuing the whole thing. It's
yeah,
definitely like one point that maybe some people will pick on is the fact that it's a little bit grosser
mm,
with the
yeah,
rats and all that.
yeah. I mean, it was wow that like that kind of bad. I don't know what you call it, the creature or whatever. They didn't even really put a name to it, did they? Like, I don't think so.
What
Um,
creature? The
like in the first season, it was the Demogorgon, and then the
no,
second
yeah, the
one it was Demodogs, and this time it's just
mind flayer.
yeah, the Mind Flayer. I guess that's what it was, huh? The Mind Flayer. I guess so. So I guess I'm wrong with that. I guess they just didn't say it so much.
Yeah, yeah, they did make such a strong point that, but Mike does say in a part where they make I noticed it was a little bit of self-conscious humor, because Mike says, "Yeah, they're flayed," and it's like, "What are they flayed?" It's like, the mind flayer flays, and these are the people that are flayed, and everyone's like, "Okay, whatever, let's move on."
Yeah. It's interesting that they are all growing up and everything. And they even did kind of address it, like the kids who like had girlfriends, they didn't really want to play D&D anymore, and like I don't know, there was just
Yeah.
some little things like that.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I was like, I think they should have made more, like, I don't know. I feel like that was a little comment on all these kids that have girlfriends and that apparently have gone through puberty now don't want to play D&D. But this kid that obviously, by looking at him, has gone through puberty, apparently, still wants to play D&D. And it's like, how is having a girlfriend and playing D&D incompatible?
Yeah. Um, well, it probably shouldn't be, but I think it kind of culturally tends to be. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know. Never played D&D in high school or anything, so I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't either. But I think it does. I mean, that's kind of them playing off of the whole, nerd thing and stuff. And I mean, it's weird because nerd stuff, I guess what would be called that, is actually we've come in this culture, I think, to be kind of more celebrated. Um, and everybody's kind of a nerd with something. But back then, I mean, it was a big deal. To be called a nerd was not something you wanted. Basically.
Yeah, yeah. I think Erica, which by the way, I watched Erica in season 2. Luca's little sister, and I was like,
Yeah,
I hope she's on season 3 a little bit more, and then she was, and she was really funny.
that's
I
so
really
fun.
like that
That's
character.
interesting that you were looking forward to that because, my wife and I, we were watching it and we're like, we saw her and we're like, this girl is like interesting, and we didn't even make the connection until way later that like that was Lucas's sister. Like we're like, oh, why didn't we get
Yeah,
that?
she pops up in season 2 when Dustin keeps calling Lucas like code red, and she picks up, and she was like, "Shut up!"
Yeah, I mean, I definitely remember that stuff. I just didn't make that connection because they didn't really. I don't think they really showed him with his sister, um, at all, really, in this movie, and she just shows up at the ice cream shop. So you're like, oh, who's this little girl being annoying or whatever? um,
Yeah.
and then I finally caught it, and yeah, she did. She had like that, especially in like season 2 with the Ghostbusters and the costumes and stuff. Like she had some moments that were pretty darn funny.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and when she took the He-Man to make out with her doll, and Lucas comes into the room and he's like, "What are you doing?"
oh yeah, that's funny. And then like yeah, it was interesting how her and Dustin kind of had that conversation where he was like, you're like a nerd, right? Because of this, and
Exactly.
this.
Yeah, that's what I was
She's like,
gonna
no, I'm
say.
not.
Like, yeah, she's like denying that she's a nerd because it's such a bad connotation, but she actually is. And at the end of the show, you can see like she's picking up the Dungeons and Dragons and going like, maybe I do want to give it a go.
So funny.
Yeah.
Um, so, all right, what do you think? All right, there's one thing that's really interesting is one thing that I think Stranger Things does, and we're going to get to the chat too. If you guys are in there, feel free to post any thoughts or whatever, and we will address some of those as we go. But one thing I noticed with Stranger Things is they know how to like take something you hate and then make you actually be into it a little bit. Like they did that with what's the Steve. Like everybody hated Steve, in the first season, but the second season they started to like him, and I think in this season you really like him. Like I
Yeah,
don't know, I did at least.
it's great.
And they kind of did a similar thing with Billy, except for you don't like him necessarily, but you like he's a big part of this. And that was one thing from season 2. Everybody pretty much hated him. Like he's such a horrible person, and But in
Yeah.
this one, they really take the time, and you get to know why he is the way he is. I don't know. How did you feel about Billy?
Oh, I loved the character of Billy. It gave me flashbacks to Lost Boys. I think it
Mm.
was done on purpose, actually. It was very Lost Boys.
Oh,
And
really?
when I watched the trailer and I saw that Billy was going to be the bad guy, I was like, that is so good. That is such a good choice.
Yeah.
And what you said is true as well, because they did it in a very subtle way, and they did set it up in season 2 where you see the father being violent towards him.
Yeah.
But then Eleven goes to his mind and actually sees him as a little boy in the beach with his mom. You're like, oh, poor
Yeah.
Billy. And then, one reflection that I did with my boyfriend is like, why does the mind flayer always go for kids that are called William? Is this a thing? Am I supposed to tie knots here? Because first was Will and then was Billy.
I didn't
Is it a
think of
name
that.
thing?
It's interesting.
Yes. No, that's silly, but I was thinking, look, they all both have the same name.
Interesting. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I would have been happy if they just decided to not have him in this season because he was that hateable. Um, but I'm glad they didn't because they did a good job, making him interesting. And so yeah, I don't know. It was surprising. But I mean, I guess that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to make people really hate the villains. So they did a good job, I guess, with that.
Yeah, yeah, it was good. And he did a great job. Like the actor really plays the part of being the monster quite well.
Yeah, I remember watching like reviews and stuff last year or whatever when the season was out and stuff, and they were saying like, the guy's a good actor. They kind of wish that they didn't, make him so kind of hated or whatever, but they ended up working it out and stuff, and I don't know if you grow to love him throughout this season, but you definitely grow to understand where he's coming from,
Yeah,
and he
he
plays an
has mommy
incredible
issues.
part. Yeah, basically.
It all ties well in very well. It's like, oh, so that's his problem. That's why he's going for the moms. And I don't know. It was a bit weird at the beginning. I was like, why is he going for the moms? He's in high school. This is weird. And then you see his flashbacks and his mommy issues, and it's like, oh, so he's okay. He's got some
Well,
issues.
that's kind of a typical trope that you see sometimes in movies and stuff. And does it really happen in real life? I don't know. I mean, I wasn't around people who did that, but I remember in Glee there was a big part with that. I don't know. Probably none of my audience watches Glee. I don't know, but I like Glee. Sorry, here's a confession here, but I thought it was a
I
cool.
didn't watch it. I know a lot of people that say it was really good.
Yeah, I think the
So
characters were great, and I mean, I like music, so I thought it was cool to hear him singing and stuff. But let's go to the chat real quick. Peter Palmiotti's here. What you doing? How you doing, man? Separating my traditional and digital workspaces. Oh, interesting. Hopefully you do. Well, I'm sure you'll do a video about it. I'm curious to see how you set that all up. Already watched all of season 3, so I'll be listening. Awesome. Thanks for hanging out. Larry Lonsby's here. He says he likes season 3 a lot. Thanks for stopping in, man. Do you think he is the American in the cell in Russia, Jim Hopper? I
yeah,
was
to be
definitely going
honest.
to get to that. What did you think? Did you
Yeah,
did you buy that he died or did you not?
well, she does look around and she doesn't see the bodies or any ashes or anything. And then there's the whole the American in the cell, and then there's the fact that, and I wasn't too convinced, but then I thought about it, and I thought, why would they take Eleven's powers away? If it wasn't for the fact that if Eleven had her powers, she would look for him,
Mm,
and without her power, she can't.
mm.
So I'm guessing that season 4 is gonna be like, let's go to Kamchatka and rescue Hopper or something.
Yeah. I wasn't planning on talking about this part just yet, but that's all right. We can. It doesn't really matter. Um, but you know, I didn't. I kept telling Lindsay, I was like, he's not dead. She's like, no, they like melted everything down, and I'm like, yeah, but the thing is, and this is more of like kind of a geeky, like people who study story type of thing, I guess, because you know, basically, if they don't show the person actually dying, they didn't die. And that's
Yeah, it's
exactly what
funny
happened.
because Stu said the same thing. I was watching it with him, and he said like he's not dead. We didn't show him like we didn't see him blowing up, and as well the goodbye moment wasn't long enough. And I
Mm.
was like, I was crying. I was like, he's dead, all right. He's never coming back. I
So
was
they
like,
did a
this is
good
so
job with it
horrible.
then.
I thought it was super sad, and I was just enjoying the sadness. And then
Yeah,
I thought about it. I thought, yeah, he's not dead. But at the moment, I didn't want to think about it. I just wanted to think about poor Eleven, like she doesn't have a dad anymore, and
yeah.
Hopper is dead, and he didn't even get to go on a date. I was just enjoying being sad.
I know that was the first thing I told Lindsay, like while we were watching it. I was like, but 7 o'clock at, well, I forget the place where they were supposed to have the date. I was like,
Yeah,
they're gonna miss their date.
yeah, yeah.
But
It
yeah, I don't know. I think they played it pretty well. Yeah, I guess to be honest, and this is like kind of horrible, I guess, but like I was having a hard time staying awake through the last episode only because it just happened to be late, and no matter how much I love something, if I'm tired, I have a hard time sometimes. So I don't think I quite caught the emotion of it like I was meant to, because I heard other people saying how sad it was, like when she was reading the letter and stuff, and
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
it's
I
super sad.
got that that's what they were going for, but I think I was just tired. um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I hate when I miss those, because the emotional. I mean, I think the emotional moments is kind of what we go to see these stories for. It's a big part of it. So I hate when I kind of miss that. But yeah, no, I think it was interesting. I definitely don't think he's dead. Um, but they did a good job, it looks like, because people seem to be at least convinced for a small amount of time that he was. And um, yeah, I don't know. It's so weird, like how they left it though, like um, because like they're moving out, and I just feel like the end of season two, like the end of season one was really cool because they kind of just they ended it with like 11 like defeating the Demogorgon, but then she's gone, and it's like, oh, we got to see season two. And then the end of season one was like a celebration. They were like they did what they had to do, and it almost could have ended the whole show there. But obviously they weren't going to. But they had the dance and everything, and then the end of this season was just like sad and
it
quiet.
was sad, wasn't it? Quite sad. Everyone was crying.
Yeah.
No, every end of season gives a hint as what's going to happen in the next season. Because in the first season, the end is when they're celebrating Christmas, and Will vomits the slug thing on the sink
Yeah. Yeah.
for the demo dogs in the next season. And in the second season, the end is the ball, the winter ball where they're all kissing and stuff.
Yeah.
But then it goes upside down, and you see that the mind flayer is like, "Wow, I'm gonna kill you." So they always give a little preview of what's gonna happen. And now apparently they have polar demogorgons in Russia, so that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. And I was thinking like, okay, they're moving out, and I was thinking as I was finishing watching last night, that this, I think it's going to be the last season, this coming one. And I kind of hope I'm right, because I think it needs to end at the right point. We can't just drag this thing out so that we end up having like stuff that people hate later on or whatever. Let's
Yeah,
let's end it gracefully, and make it happen. And I was thinking, all this time these kids have been on the defense. For the most, it's been more reactive. Even though they've been at. It's not like they've been passively dealing with this. They've been actively trying to do what they needed to do. But I think this time it's going to be, you know, 11 is pissed, and she's freaked out because of what happened to Hopper, and now it's time to attack, and now the the Upside Down and the Demogorgon and Mind Flayer, they're the ones who are going to be on their heels and stuff like that. And I don't know, that's kind of where I feel like it should go, at least.
Yeah, probably it's gonna be like a mix of the Russians and maybe I don't know because 11 losing her powers. That's what threw me off. It's like if 11 doesn't have powers, then what are they gonna do?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure she'll either get them back or there will be something else that happens. And I think it's going to not take place in that town, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Like, and
Yeah, in Hawkins. Yeah,
I think that would be kind of appropriate. Actually, it kind of makes sense. Like now they're going out and they're going to find this thing. But I don't know if they do make it take place in the town, that'll be fine too, I guess.
yeah, yeah. That could be fun.
Oops. So let's go back to the chat. I do have more notes here, but I'll go back to the chat real quick. Let's see. Ronnie's here. What's up, Ronnie? Yeah, no motorized transformers, just hard plastic. Yeah. But you know what? Now that I keep forgetting that it was 11 that did that, so I guess it works. Larry Lons B. I was hoping the brother would have been saved since the flashbacks revealed his life with his father being abusive. Yeah. Um, yeah, I kind of
Yeah,
thought maybe he would be saved, but and I was actually a little confused. I think I was a little bit falling asleep here and there last night, and I think my wife kind of explained it better to me. But I was like, oh well, he's just the double. Like there's the real one is alive still, and she said no, they're all dead. I think. So I don't really know. I'm kind of still a little bit fuzzy on what happened with all the doubles and stuff. Like, did they all die or they all? I don't know. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, Billy was possessed by the Mind Flayer,
Yeah,
and the others were just used as goo to make to materialize the Mind Flayer.
yeah.
So yeah,
But
Billy
there
was
was a
definitely
double
Billy.
of him, right? There was the upside down version of him or something, or
Yeah, but I think that was like a vision or something. Yeah, I'm not sure about that 100%. But yeah.
because they showed. I think they showed parts where he was, at his house or something, and then they also showed him down in that underground area
Mm,
um, with the girl that he was with, and they just were kind of zombies or whatever. Uh,
yeah.
so yeah, I don't know. Like I'm a little bit still confused on what happened there with all those. Because did all those people die? Like I don't know.
I
Like
don't know. They definitely did turn into goo, conform the Mind Flayer. But Billy was, for some reason, spared from that. He didn't he didn't add to the Mind Flayer. He just kind of hung around in his car.
yeah,
So maybe he was a little bit different, but I'm not sure why or how.
yeah. Yeah, it would have been, I guess, cool to see him get redeemed in the end, but I think they set him up in a pretty good way to kind of be done with him. But I don't know. You never know with these things; they could come back, but probably not. I think he was the big bad for this season. Him along with the Mind Flayer, and but we got to see some redeeming qualities. Or maybe
Yeah.
not redeeming qualities, but redeeming history or whatever backstory.
And there's
Let's
also the
see.
fact that Max likes him in the end, so he can't be that bad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that was the little bit of redeeming quality there for sure. What do you think about Max and 11 hanging out? In the beginning of
Ah,
the parts.
pretty cute.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah, it's interesting. They kind of keep these kids apart like in different ways in each season, and um yeah, I don't know. I think I just liked a lot of all that stuff. Mike and her relationship was cool, and um yeah, it's just interesting. It also struck me that in this show, most and this gets into like the political side of things a little bit, but I'm not going to get too deep into that. But most of the like characters that are driving the plot are female, like strong female characters, and I think it does kind of feel like they do that a bit on purpose. Um, which it is what it is. I'm not. I like that. I love. I've been enjoying this time where we've finally been getting. Well, I shouldn't say finally because there actually has always been some strong female characters from what I remember. But you know, it's just nice to see more of that, I guess. And but at the same time, it's like sometimes it feels a little bit like they're like going really strong at it. I don't know. What did you think about that? Did that even pop into your mind at all, or?
Yeah. Definitely, they're making a comment about the way some people were portrayed in the 80s movies, and of
Mhm.
course, they're trying to give a modern view of that. And of course, they have the black characters, which if you look at all the coming of age stories, or you look at It, or you look at Stand by Me, or you know other titles that are not Stephen King, but the majority are boys and the majority are white. And
Mhm.
now they're trying to bring in like people that may have been a little bit not represented in that time. So like you have Lucas and Erica, you have all the girls, you have also kids that are not from middle class families like Will and Jonathan. And they do
Mhm.
make a comment on that as well. Like Jonathan, like when she tells him, "Oh, you don't know what it's like," and he tells her, "You don't know what it's like." He's talking about being poor, and she's talking about being a woman.
Mhm.
And they're both making a comment on the fact that they have it a little bit tougher than the others.
Mhm. And kind of along these same lines with the political stuff, what did you think about the Robin reveal?
The what? Robin.
Yeah.
You know what? I sort of saw it coming, but maybe that's just me seeing
Hmm.
like, oh, she's queer coded. She's definitely a lesbian. But I that's what I thought because I don't know. I was thinking about that because it's Pride Week, and it was in
Yeah.
my head. And
Hmm.
maybe if it hadn't been you know Pride Month or Pride Week or whatever, I wouldn't have been thinking about it. But definitely, I saw that coming. I was like,
Really?
oh no, don't. You're gonna be embarrassed.
I was so sad for him. I
But he
was
took it
like,
really well. He was like, I love how he just commented on like, how do you like that one? She's terrible.
yeah, it's interesting because I think Steve doesn't really like he falls in love, but he kind of recovers quickly.
Yeah.
Um,
He's very brilliant.
so yeah, I guess it kind of works in that way. But I felt bad. Like it seemed like things were moving. I didn't expect it at all. I was a little bit like I kind of felt like it was a little bit forced. She just didn't. I don't know. She seemed like she was attracted to him. I mean, they really played that angle. Usually, there's at least some kind of hinting or thing, but she really seemed like she was into him. Like it seemed like that's what she was talking about a lot of times. But
Yeah, it was a bit misguiding when they said that comment about you used to sit in front of me because all the while I was thinking, yeah, she's definitely a lesbian, and then she was like, I used to sit behind you and you ate bagels, and it's like, really? Oh, okay. Well, I got that one wrong. But then all the while, and this is ridiculous, but all the while I was just looking at her and trying not to see Uma Thurman. So
she did
I was
have
like, oh,
she did look
every
a
time she
little
was
like Uma Thurman.
I was like, oh my God, she looks so much like her mom.
Oh, is that her mom?
Yes, yes.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I was like, she does look like Uma Thurman. I didn't know that was her kid.
Yeah, I shouldn't have read it because when I was looking at the credits, I saw that it was Joe Carey, which is Steve, and then underneath it said something Hawk, and I was like, huh, isn't that Ethan Hawke's and Uma Thurman's daughter? And then I was like, shit, it is her. Look at her.
There was other situations like that too, where I was like, is that person related to somebody? And I can't remember exactly who. But one thing I didn't realize that noticed today, actually, in a little news thing article. I just saw like a headline. I didn't even realize that Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves are like married.
What?
Yeah,
Wait, what? Right now, you mean?
I
No,
mean,
right?
I could be wrong, but because like I said, I only saw a headline. But
Really?
but yeah, it said something about that. Let's see. Oh, I don't know how to spell Keanu.
Is Keanu, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Married to
I don't
Winona
think
Ryder. All right,
he
let's
was,
see.
but he's not right now. Now look at us. We're now gossiping
Well,
massively.
I don't know if it's gossiping. That's funny. It doesn't. I wish it would just say for sure.
Yeah, no, the marriage ended in 1994. Look.
Okay. I didn't know that they ever were though. But I guess I
Yeah.
don't really stay up on that kind of news. Um, okay. Yeah, the headline I saw actually came up. It says Winona Ryder won't let anyone forget she and Keanu Reeves are, I don't know, married, I guess. I'm assuming, or were married. Winona Ryder says she
Okay.
is still married to Keanu Reeves. Okay.
What? No, she's not.
I don't know. I don't want to get too deep into that, but that's funny. Let's see what's happening more in the chat here. Let's see. Larry, the never. Oh yes, the never-ending story part was hilarious. Not what he expected. This is Larry saying this, but the reactions of all the characters during it, like what the hell, lol. That's that's the thing. Like when they first started singing, first I'm like, wait, this is. I think this is the first time they've done any singing in this show, and it seems like it pops up a lot in a lot of shows. These days,
Yeah.
but I like it. I don't know. I think it's fun. But you know, I didn't know what they were singing at first, and I was like, "Oh, damn! Like he can sing." And I think I already knew that, but I forgot. Um, and then I was like, and then they said the never-ending story, and I was like, "Ah!" I was like freaking out because I love that movie. I didn't know
Yeah.
they didn't start with like the most known part. They started with other parts, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know." What did you think about that?
I thought it was really funny. And it was so strange because how did they? I need to rewatch that because it's like such a tense moment, and you're like, oh my god, they're all gonna die. What's gonna happen? We need the code, and they make that transition so well. For me, it worked really well. I don't know about you, but it's like you're in a super tense moment, and suddenly they start singing this duet out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and it just works. And I was just laughing and forgot completely about the code, about the portal, about the fact that they were all gonna die.
Yeah, because
And I
they
was
even
just thinking, well, they can sing. They sing really well.
yeah, and then they had that part where it was like the music is going and everybody's like dancing and in behind the car like the mind flayers like chasing them, but they're like
Yeah.
just like happy. Like I don't know, it was funny.
Yeah, they did that really well because it wasn't like super tense. And I think, I don't know, I'm trying to think now, and I think they did it because that sequence of super tense being chased and everything was quite long. Was like a full episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was the final episode, right? I think, or
Yeah, and the
what?
whole of the final episode is just tense, tense, tense. People in the Russian base and people, it was super tense.
Yeah, yeah,
They decided to break it up a little bit. I don't know.
yeah, probably. And they did it like they didn't just like have a funny moment. They like went into a music video.
Yes, it's a strange choice, but somehow it worked. At least for me.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
let's see. What about I don't know. For me, I really enjoy the way they handle like conspiracy stuff. Like, because there's all kinds of little things. I mean, this whole movie is based off of like or this whole like series is based off of like Montauk experiments and MK Ultra type stuff and all this weird conspiracy
Yeah.
stuff. And I just love how they take all that and they just make it into this like fictionally fun world and creepy and crazy world. How do you think about all that? Do you
I
ever get
think
into that?
they recycle, you know how in the 80s the Russians were always the bad guys?
Yeah, the Russian thing too. Yep.
And they brought back the Russian thing, and I think they did a great job at it because they did it not as black and white as it used to be in the 80s movies. And I think the character of Alexei was really good.
Hmm.
It's like the Russian on the American side, and I don't know, I really liked the character. And when he died, I was like genuinely sad, like no,
Yeah.
Alexei, he wanted corn dogs
And Slurpees.
and the Slurpee, yeah,
What's
yeah.
what is how did he die? I don't even remember him dying, to be
He
honest.
got shot by the Terminator.
The Terminator. That's so funny. Like I was so expecting that guy to be like a cyborg.
Me too. You know when, and I think they played off of that because in the final fight, when Hopper like really hits him with the generator or whatever it was, I thought he was going to turn around and have half his face be robotic, like in Terminator, and I think it was exactly the same shot or something.
Yeah.
But no, it was just clean.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious, like what did you pick out? Can you remember like specific throwbacks to other movies? Like can you remember some
Yeah.
or
Well, Terminator #1 because he's the guy with the black leather jacket. He walks like a Terminator. He has a motorcycle, so he was 100% Terminator, that one.
yeah,
And well, never ending story, obviously.
yeah.
And I don't know. Right now, I
I,
can't think of any other.
I'm sure there's like tons of them that like I missed. But I felt like I kept like pointing them out as like we were watching the show and stuff. And I don't think I even remember all the ones I pointed out, but I do remember, I feel like they were going back to Carrie a little bit with, at one point when, when Billy kind of revved the engine and was about to like drive into, I forget who even, like you could see like
Nancy.
the lights flash or whatever.
Yeah. No, I thought that was Lost Boys. I just remembered. Yeah, Lost Boys, definitely. Billy was the bad guy in Lost Boys.
Yeah, I didn't catch the Lost Boys stuff, but now that you say it, it makes total sense. But I shouldn't say Carrie. I don't know why I said Carrie because I think I did see some stuff that reminded me of Carrie. I mean, you're kind of gonna get that anyways. There's all these strong female characters who are like getting into the thick of it and stuff. And so I think there was some stuff kind of like that. But also, what's the Stephen King one with the car? Or wait, is Carrie, isn't it?
Carrie is the one. Is there a car in Carrie? I can't remember.
No, okay, so that's Carrie is the one with the dance and the blood and all that,
Exactly, the big
psychic
explosion.
powers and all that,
So
which is
everyone
basically
died.
this movie, this series too, in some ways.
Yes.
Um, but then there's a Stephen King uh, movie and book it's like a possessed car, and I can't think of what the name of.
Oh,
But
could be.
anyways, I
Yeah.
feel like I saw some things with that. I think there's definitely some It references and even Ghostbusters with that slimy creature, and sometimes it went down like into like the sewers and stuff like that,
Yeah.
um,
Yep. Yep.
and then there was
And well,
even like
the
when they
future.
were in the fun house, there was the kind of the mirror scene or whatever that I don't know if they were trying to do this or not, but it reminded me of Enter the Dragon. If you
Yes, absolutely. It reminded me of Enter the Dragon. Me too. I was thinking about that when I was watching it. And Back to the Future when they sit down to watch it. I mean, that's not a well. Yeah, that is a reference. That's a massive
oh
reference
yeah,
because they are watching
absolutely.
it. And I love it because when they come out, Robin and Steve, and they're on drugs, and she tries to explain the film. I think that guy was trying to bang his mom. It's like, what?
Yeah, that was good. The whole thing with them being on drugs was like some of the best parts of the whole series, I think.
I
Like
know, it's hilarious.
it was, and they let that go on for so long. At some point, I turned to my wife and I'm like, "Do you think that this drug, whatever it is, would last that long?" Like, because it was like they just kept going on and on about it, but it was nothing but fun.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciated every second of it.
Oh goodness, I almost forgot about it, but yeah, that was good. Let's see. Yeah, we talked about Erica. She was just so good. She she uh she really liked certain swear words specifically.
Yes,
She kind of went
she
down
has.
that. What's that?
She has some amazing one-liners as well. I thought it was
Yeah,
hilarious.
she definitely was fleshed out as a character and interesting, more interesting. So I'm glad they used her a lot. And I remember, growing up, there was always like, I don't know, I just remember, young girls like that, and they had their braids and all the little colorful beads and stuff, and I always thought it was cool growing up. So I don't know, it just made me think of growing up a little bit, which was cool. Let's see. I guess I think that's all I had for my actual notes. Let's go back to the chat. Is there anything else you were thinking of that you wanted to bring up about all this?
Well, let's go to the chat and if I can think of
Yeah.
anything.
Let's see. Okay, Ronnie's saying we'll see if 11 gets her powers back. Larry says, "Yeah, you think they'll come back in time of need?" Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they'll like. That's kind of the what you would expect. I think is will they come back in a time of need, and that's almost like a cheap way to tell a story sometimes. And I don't think they'll go that route. They're really good at writing these stories and stuff. But I mean, they probably will to a certain extent come back in a time of need, but it might be like a build up instead of like, okay, she hasn't had her powers the whole time, and then all of a sudden they need it and she does it. But I
Yeah.
don't know. Who knows? um, let's see. I think they have to give her back her powers though. Like that, I mean, that's kind of if there is one protagonist in this show, it would probably be 11. I think. I don't know. And I just feel like she has to have her powers, but they sometimes it seems like the theme is like having her become normal is like kind of the
Yes.
theme. So it's possible that they wouldn't. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that could be possible.
Let's see. Ronnie says he has to go. Thanks for hanging out, man. Um, yeah, and guys, if you want us to bring anything else up, please let us know. And Peter said it's because of that song that Hopper and Billy died. All right, that's interesting.
Maybe, yes, if you analyze it in that way.
Larry says, "Wow, never thought of that." Um, yeah, so I blame Susie. Larry says, "Christine, that's the movie with the car that gets."
Ah, okay. I haven't seen it, so I didn't pick up on that.
Let's see. Peter says they are kids who have never been drugged, so I think it would be in their system for some time. I don't know about that. I think Steve was talking about something about smoking weed or something at some point. I forget. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Tim is here. How you doing, man? Sorry, I don't know how to say your last name. Um, but yeah, the big bad monster too. Like, did you think that was just gross and horrible, or did you think it was kind of cool too? Like,
Yeah, yeah. I think it was gross enough to be cool, in my opinion. I mean, I like gross stuff. If it's done in a way that is obviously not supposed to be realistic, I don't mind it at all. And it reminded me a little bit of the old Peter Jackson films, like Brain Dead and all those gory B
Mm.
series movies he used to make. And it has all that sort of gooey stuff in it and fake blood and whatnot.
Yeah,
So I
I
like
mean,
it.
I think it works really well with the theme, with all the themes and stuff, and going back to the all the 80s stuff. I mean, there's always. I think the 80s was probably a pretty big time for you know a lot of stuff with horror and grossness, and kids tend to enjoy a little bit of grossness. At least I know us little boys did, and
Yeah, with
um,
the creatures and the gremlins, they always had like exploding things or just gooey stuff.
yeah, exactly. So it definitely fit. Now they really went for it. Like they didn't hold back. I
Look,
mean,
they
it
didn't.
literally looked like gooey corpses, like reforming and not like being destroyed and then reforming. That like that's pretty darn gross. Like I was like having a hard
Yeah,
time looking at it sometimes.
I liked it. It was fun. I thought it was
Oh, I thought it
the
was
sort of
fun.
disgusting that is fun.
What's that?
It was the sort of disgusting that I find fun.
Yeah. I mean, me too, but I don't know. Sometimes I it's hard to look at certain things sometimes, but I pretty much was good with it. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was cool. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. There's just so much. I heard one person. I did watch one review. Just because I wanted to get a little quick overview, so if there's things I couldn't think of, I would maybe it would jog my memory before I did the show. Deloric, how you doing, man? Um, the exploding rats were fun. Peter says, and then
Yeah,
Tim
it
said,
was
"Weed
fun.
is not a drug." Okay, okay. um, but yeah, what was I saying now? I forget now.
The review. You were reading
Oh
a
yeah, the
review.
review I watched. And they were saying that they liked the whole thing, but they felt like the first few episodes were not as fun, and it really got stronger as it went on. I kind of disagree with that. I think I
Yeah, I
liked it all
disagree.
really. I just didn't really love the ending. Like the final, like maybe third of the last episode or whatever. But the rest of it I
Yeah.
pretty much liked.
I mean, I've separated instead of beginning, middle, end, or whatever. I separated in plots because you know how they do this thing in Stranger Things where they have different groups of people going at the same problem from different angles, and they always meet up in the end and decide to split up again somehow. And that's how it's always been. That's the structure of season one, season two, and season three. And
Yeah.
I've separated like the plots in the Steve, Erica, Dustin, and Robin plot, which is being very clumsy spies, which is really fun.
Hmm.
Um, then the Mike, 11, Lucas, and Max plot with Will being there for some reason, which I didn't find particularly fun, to be honest. I thought it was okay, but they didn't do much, and I thought they could have done a little bit more with that one. Then you have the Hopper and Joyce with the Russians plot, which was a bit of the cop buddy type thing where
Yeah.
they don't get along, they're investigating.
Right.
And then they had the Nancy and Jonathan X-Files thing going on.
Mm.
And my favorites from those four, if I had to put them in order, would be number one, the Erica, Dustin, Robin, Steve. That was my favorite by far. That was the most fun.
Hmm.
And then I would put the Jonathan and Nancy. I really liked when they were investigating, just the two of them.
Hmm.
And then uh, the Joyce and Hopper, and finally, by far the worst was the other kids with Will. And that's how I analyze it rather than beginning, middle, and end.
Huh. Um, yeah, I'm not really sure. Like when I think about it that way, I actually didn't. I don't know that I loved the whole thing with see, I'm forgetting the names, even though you just said them. The couple, the two kids.
Nancy and Jonathan.
Yeah, that was okay.
Yeah, because then they join up with the others and it becomes nothing. But at the beginning, when they were at the pretending to be reporters and going around and stuff, that was fun.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I guess my wife was saying that those two actually were dating at some point, and then I think they might have broke up, like in real life. Um, and it was maybe like a bad breakup. So I was wondering if there was any tension there or whatever with the acting.
I don't know.
But yeah, I don't know. I know that I really like Dustin a lot again, as usual. And you know them going down, you know, into the mall was really crazy. I think that was probably my favorite was them and
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
Erica and you know Steve and Robin. Like that was just that was I think probably the best part maybe. And then it was funny like what was it? There was a part where they were like, you know, oh the Alexa or whatever that guy like he was basically
Alexis.
saying like nobody, you know, you're not going to be able to get down there. Like nobody could possibly ever penetrate, you know, this deep
Kids
base
are
or whatever,
down there.
the Russian base. Like it's impossible. And then they go right over to the kids like popping up into the
Yeah,
where they had that those goo things or whatever.
yeah, it was quite
It's just
funny.
funny.
And Erica trying to break the green thing, like, this is liquid, we need to drink. I was like,
Yeah, that was a little weird. Like, really? But I don't know. Like, I think you could tell that that's not something you should drink. But I don't know.
yeah, I liked it because they show it to be really clever, but then there's other times where she's really silly. So I think
Yeah,
it evens her out. So I found that
yeah.
really good.
She is a pretty young kid, so you know it makes sense. Um, yeah, yeah. I really loved that whole thing, and trying to think like they in the beginning parts of the season, you know, they had a lot of stuff with Billy and the mother. Um, and I'm glad she decided, you know, what she decided. It's kind of weird though because it's like she's still underwhelmed by her husband, but she did decide to stick with him. So I don't know. That character's kind
Yeah.
of lame, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, they do mention it in the, I don't know if it was the first or the second season. I think it was the first season. She talks about her family. She's talking to
Mhm.
Steve or to Jonathan, I can't remember. And she said like, oh, I wouldn't like to end up like my parents, you know, like they just got married because it was convenient and blah blah.
Yeah.
So
Um,
yeah,
I really like that Max was more part of things. I do like Max and Eleven's whole thing together. That was fun.
yeah.
It was like that's what 11 needed though. She needed some girl time, and I'm glad she got it.
And it was funny as well, Hopper's reaction to it when he comes home and he opens the door. I said 3 inches, and they're like reading a comic on the floor. And he's so happy. He's like, no, 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 you girls, stay there.
Yeah,
You know.
I love how they did bring comics into things a few times here and there.
Yeah, yeah. I
We
really like that.
got a little bit of that. What was it? Was there a part? I'm trying to think. Oh no, we watched a little bit of Shameless after that. After we watched Stranger Things last night, there was a moment about comic books in that too. But I was thinking of that too. But yeah, they did have a few little things with comics, which was cool. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was good. You know, I look forward to seeing it again at some point. I'm not sure. it's weird though. Like the ending did leave me like less excited than I have in previous. Like
I
when
know.
season two
Yeah.
came out, like we immediately watched the two seasons again. You know, like I don't know that we're gonna do
Yeah.
that this time.
I mean, I would watch it again for sure, but I'm not looking forward to the fourth as much as I was looking forward to the third.
Yeah.
To be sure, the ending wasn't as strong in creating that excitement.
hmm But Hopper is alive.
Yeah, it is.
He's got to
Yeah,
be.
probably. Kamchatka, which I thought was a reference to Risk, but maybe I'm just a geek. Because one of the most smaller provinces in the territory of Russia in Risk is Kamchatka, and it's just a little thing that is not connected to anything.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a great point. That probably was. I mean, I'm sure there's like a lot of references in there that we like you they always have these videos on YouTube like all the references in season 3 of, Stranger Things and stuff. So I'm sure there'll be some of that and I'll probably watch one of those. Those are fun.
Yeah, because I've played lots of Risk when I was little, and Kamchatka was like the one place where you can hardly get to it.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
interesting.
so I used to have like a stronghold.
That's cool. I didn't play it a lot, but I always thought it was cool. I think a lot of times people are hesitant to play that game because it could never end.
Or it could end in 5 minutes. Yeah, you never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Um, Peter says that the liquid was very alien moment. There was a very alien moment. Yeah, they had that one moment where the mind flare was right in 11's face, and yeah, they were totally doing some alien stuff there, I think.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And the green thing, what it reminded me of? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, they must be pulling from the 90s and the 80s. I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles might be all 90s, no? Or is it 80s
Yeah, I
too?
think it is, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it was 86, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, it's hard to
Um,
remember exactly because, like you said, they do kind of meld together a bit.
in my head, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. They must have spent a lot of money though. Like I can't imagine the money they spend to get all these nostalgia pieces. Because like when they first stepped into that mall, I was like, this is not like a modern mall. Like they really like there was a lot of people there dressed up in 80s gear. Like, and they even had like old like food store like food restaurants and stuff in there that don't exist anymore. And I don't know they and then like even like they had like the old Burger King bag, like the old Doritos
Yes,
bag. Like it was all they took the graphic design from all that stuff. Like they had to make all that stuff or get old versions of it or what, I don't know.
yeah. By the way, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 1984.
Oh, all right. So it's hard to remember exactly when things happened.
Yeah, no, for sure the TV shows were more, in my head at least, like a 90s thing, but the comics were 80s, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the comics must have. I don't think that the I really don't think that the actual show came out until the 90s, but I mean, 1984 I would only be like 5 and I mean, I remember that coming out like when my brother was a kid.
1987, the
What's
TV
that?
show. 1987.
Oh, okay. That makes a little more sense. My brother would have been like 1, no, or 2. And I feel like I remember he was old enough to enjoy the cartoon, but I don't know. Maybe I was late on a lot of stuff too, I think. So I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's about all I have to say about the show. It was really cool.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
it was really fun. Definitely the clumsy spy side of it with the four kids in the mall was the best bit for me. But the rest was also really good. I enjoyed it.
Clumsy. I'm trying to think. Oh,
The
okay.
clumsy spies, like Dustin and Erica and Steve and Robin.
Yeah, I love that part when they're like when Robin, I think it was Robin was saying it or somebody was saying it, it was like, you guys think this is so hard to decode. We decoded it in a day. Like we're
It's
just
very
like
tough. Yeah. It's like, who do you work for? It's like, we work for the ice cream shop.
it's awesome. Yeah, really cool stuff. So yeah, I guess we'll just let that be. I think we covered it, and
Yeah.
hopefully everybody who's watching, first of all, hopefully you didn't get it spoiled. Hopefully you heeded the warnings. I tried to make it very obvious. And hopefully you enjoyed that show, and hopefully you enjoyed this show as well. Before we go, Teresa, where can people find you again?
YouTube, Instagram, it's just Teresa del Pilar, like with an underscore in Instagram, and here on YouTube, just type it and it'll probably come up.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I definitely, once again, recommend her stuff, recommend her videos and stuff. There's just really cool stuff on the YouTube channel, and her art, of course, I love. And you can find me, donkeyjawprojects.com. Instagram is Marshall Lee _DJP, which is the same on Twitter as well. And we make comics, and sometimes we talk about this kind of stuff. So thank you, everybody, for watching and hanging out with us. And we'll talk to you on the next Early Bird Artcast.
Bye bye.
Later.